Hey guys, Monster Matt here, and welcome back once again to Monster Sanctuary. This has been perhaps one of the most challenging teams I've ever had to create, and I'm honestly still not happy with it. I was asked by several of you to try to make a valid team with the worm on it, and honestly, I think I've done as close to that as I can possibly manage. At least while focusing on, like, using the worm as an offensive creature. Essentially, those of you who don't know, the worm is very fire-based. It has neutral thrown in there for, like, with beating as well. But most of its moves are fire-based. It has explosion for single target damage. It's got explosive blast for some multi-target damage that does a bit less because it doesn't hurt as badly, but it hits everybody. Of course, the lucky hit has a 17% chance to deal a tremendous amount more damage, and I've basically just gone out of my way to make this thing into a crit machine. It has a 46% chance to crit before you even factor in the fact that this entire team is set up to use Glory. I'll get to that in a second. I've taken all of its crit damage points, except for this one, because I've been debating if I want to try putting one into Ballistics or not. I'll cover that in a second. The reason I have all three of these is because the biggest hurdle to this creature's effectiveness is not lack of damage, it's staying alive. This thing has 2,900 health, and that's with me putting in... I haven't used any health from the actual talent tree as of yet, but this thing is downright fragile. It's really hard to keep it alive. Like gear-wise, I've given it. I've been experimenting with a few different things. I like the katana best though, because it cranks the crit chance up to 60% before anything else. It's got crit and crit damage on its weapon. It's got crit and mana regen. It's got crit and crit damage on that. It's got more crit chance. Like, it's got a tremendous amount of crit because all I want to do is have this thing nuke stuff, because that's what it's built for. Now, I did some experiments before I decided to pass on Ballistics, because I wanted to understand how exactly this thing worked. Because basically, the way Ballistics works is, you do 25% more damage with a 10% chance to miss with each of these. So you take all three, and that's 75% more damage, but you're missing a third of the time. And I thought, well, maybe if crits overrode that, like if you get yourself like a 100% crit chance, or dang close, then any hit that was a crit might just hit anyway, and so it wouldn't matter if your aim was lousy. But as far as I can tell, that's not the case. I think it checks for accuracy first, so you're giving away a third of your hits, and that I just can't get around it. You could maybe, if you were confident in your luck, I could see you maybe throwing one of these in, like one in. Because a 25% boost for a 10% lack of, for 10% loss of accuracy, not the end of the world. You might appreciate that, but honestly, I find that even without these, it does plenty of damage. Explosion does a lot of damage. You've got Fire Punch for a multi-hit approach, and beating for neutral stuff. I have loaded in a ton of crit damage pluses. I'm just throwing this one, I guess, while I'm thinking about it. So it has a crit damage of 240%, and the only thing really keeping it alive right now is crit defense. Because 10% of its crit damage, so 24 in this case, it takes 24% less damage from all hits. And even then, it's fragile. Like, I will show you what I mean. I will find something. I will find something. I was just doing a test run just now. That's why I'm kind of in the middle of this place. I have yet to be able to successfully beat a team at level 40. So far, it's been nothing but like I can fight lower level stuff because it's just so fragile. Oh, here we go. So the Koi and Thanatos were chosen, and I'll go into their talents here in a moment. Simply because the Koi and Thanatos have crit boosting things. Both of them have multi-glory. The Thanatos has improved glory, and the Koi has improvements to charges, all of which help to make the worm into an absolute destroyer. But it needs to live long enough to do it is the problem. So I start off with the dexterity usually for glory and for agility, just because the worm already has three talents that give it dodge, so it's 8% each, which is 24%. So with agility, that is a further 20% chance. So it's got like a 36, no, pardon me, 24 and 20 more is 44, my bad. 44% chance. So it actually has a pretty good dodge on it. I don't have any guaranteed way to land Spell Shield, but with all the buff things that these guys have on them, it's actually pretty common for it to land to end up with Spell Shield anyway. Not guaranteed, but the odds are, you know, not terrible. I've also given the Thanatos the Abyssal Sword to help give it more chances to land extra buffs and debuffs around the place, because it's nice. The Worm is actually a pretty decent shielder in itself, and it can give itself more glory while it's doing it, so... Round 1 is almost always just pure defense. There's Spell Shield on the Koi. If you're very lucky, and I mean very lucky, your enemy won't even go after you. And see, I toyed with the idea of switching one of these two out for, like, the Targoat, or something that could, like, just defend the Worm for it, and that would certainly help. But at that point, you're removing some of the glory. You're removing either improved glory off of the Thanatos, or you're removing the charges off of the Koi. And granted, the Targoat has the charge improvement as well, but it doesn't have multi-glory. So I wouldn't, because again, my goal for this team was to get to 100% crit chance. Now, I think I come just barely short of it. I think it's something like 90%. But essentially, you need every stack of glory you can scrape together for this. And even then, like, it's here, let me show you. So, you can stack Might up to 3 times. Sorcery actually gets you, I think it's a 10% reduction in in your opponent's armor because of the Thanatos. And if you can do at least 25% chance of their health in, at least 25% of their health in one hit, then you gain 8 stacks of charge as well. So it all kind of comes together. So at this point, see, like you'll see, like, he does tremendous damage. Like, look at the damage this thing can dish out. It's kind of insane. He needs the other two to build the combo for him, though, I will say. Why that's not doing as much as those two, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. But, oh, because they have armor break, of course. Duh. But, like, you know, it just kaboom and it dies. Like, once the Worm's charges get built in, as they have now, and once he gets all of his stacks up, which he now has, you'll find that he'll quite often, I think the highest I've seen him do so far is like a 15k crit. I'll try and pull one off here if I can. Add to his shielding there a little bit. No, okay. So 9,600 there, not bad. I will say that the Encapsulate is actually a really good combo builder because it heals 9 times and shields once. So that's a 10 combo right there. The fish, the Koi, their best contribution to combos is usually a buff, because that's technically 7 more. Even though it doesn't, even though it doesn't actually like do anything, it still counts the 7 buffs, which is kind of interesting to me. And then just, you know, there, a 17,000 damage crit. 17,000. And like I said, that's impressive. The damage is there. Like, it works. Like, it does tremendous amounts of damage up front. The problem is that the team is made of tissue paper. Because while it all syncs together very well as far as defense goes, it's just none of them are tanky. The Thanatos has paper-thin defense. They're all relatively fragile creatures. Like, the Koi has okay health, but only, even light shifted only has 4 defense. The Thanatos, dark shifted, only has 2 bars of defense, and that's with me throwing an extra point in, I think, yeah, down here. I've actually thrown one in, so it only has 1 bar of defense. They're flimsy. Even with all the health that these two have, they're not very durable, and the Worm is even worse. His defense is better because I've given him Light Shift, which actually, the reason I took Light Shift, by the way, Cursebreaker. Cursebreaker is so good. I love Cursebreaker. The alternative there, though, is Shadow Proc, which I guess, considering how high his attack stat is, that is kind of tempting, honestly. It would give him a little bit more health, too, but he would lose defense, which I'm not exactly thrilled about. But it is a 60% additional hit, and considering his attack stat is, like, you know, 435, you know, that would be 60% would be, well, over 200, which is like good, but not that good, frankly. Your other options, of course, for the other two are the same thing for the fish, which isn't worth it. It's not there to attack. Or Light Instinct on this, which honestly, I could almost see Light Instinct. The reason I took Dark Shift was because of Heroic Assault. For every buff on your, because this is the one thing. Sorry, I hadn't taken it. I'd not taken it into account. With Glory, I think we hit about 90% crit on our worm. With Heroic Assault, I think it actually hits 100 because it gets 1% more crit for every buff on it, and we got at least 5 stacks of Glory, 3 stacks of Might. That's 8 right there, plus whatever else happens to be on it when it's done. It literally has 100% crit chance, and then some, I think. And that's wonderful, like I said, but like, let's fight these guys. They're a little more resilient. Like I said, like the team more or less works, but you need luck on your side. You really just cannot afford to let this thing, you know, because like you can't kill anything in the first turn because they're just too durable. These guys have a lot of health. When the oven doesn't have as much. But it doesn't have his crit built into him yet. And he's missing a lot of his oomph, because he doesn't have his might buffs yet either. So these guys will prove a stiffer challenge, I think, so let's give them a try. See? Like, if anything hits you, but you know, with any real strength, it's dead. And that's been my frustration so far. Because, you know, you can use items to bring back the worm, that's fair enough. But every time you do, you're forced to restart your buffs. Because you need, like, he needs them. He can't do without them. There really is no choice in the matter. He needs might. He needs, like, he needs the 3 might stacks. He needs the 5 stacks of glory. Like, it just does wonders for him, and until he has them, he's much too vulnerable. So that is my big concern with this team. Like, he does pretty good damage when it gets rolling, but it takes him a little too long to get rolling. Especially when he's so buff dependent. And against things like the Sutsune or the Asura who can take away your buffs, it's not a good time. So that is my kind of my shot, like I said, like when everything goes perfectly, the worm does tremendous damage, but it's just really hard to get him there. Like I said, you might have more luck personally if you were to go with something like the Targoat. Like just prevent things from even touching him. That might work. This does okay for itself as long as it's, you know, as long as you have the ability to keep him safe, but it's tough. I do like the massive crits he pulls off though. Those are quite fun. I wonder how much damage we could do to one of these guys. Like they resist him. And they have good health, but like I wonder. Ooh, over 6,000 damage in one hit. So that gets him his charge stacks. Hang on, let's try it again. 10 charge, because yeah, there's another thing on one of them. As long as he has at least X number of buffs, he gets 2 charge stacks. I believe it is. I think it's from the Koi. And go ahead and get that combo built. You can always use Acid Rain on one of them too to kind of soften them up a little bit. If they don't already have armor break. Because I mean, the Koi and the Thanatos actually do have okay like offense on there. You don't have to totally like once the buffs are up, you're free to have them join in on hitting stuff to like soften things up for you. Nothing wrong with that. 5,000. Like I said, like they're very fragile for those first few turns, and even after that, honestly, if something hits the worm too hard, he's still gonna die. Like nothing much gonna fix that, I don't think. I definitely prefer Definitely prefer the multi-hit moves to his explosion. Oh, unless you're guaranteed the hit, that is. Sorry, the crit. Because, like, at full crit, the explosion is good. But before that, I find the multi-hit moves work a bit better. Let me try and find something up here that's a little more our level, I guess. Sitsune is double them. It's gonna hurt here. Let me see if we can take these guys. Double Sitsune, that sounds painful, but we'll give it a shot. We're gonna want lifeline. They're mostly magic, so agility won't help as much in this case. Encapsulate. Like, they resist fire too, don't they? Yeah, they do. And the Thanatos resists, you know, anything that's not magic. The beating, you know, you can do a chunk of their health, but damage just isn't there yet. Could have gone worse. That's good. Get better. Still not enough damage though. Okay, he's hit full glory. Survive that. Go for the fish. That's fine. Okay. Encapsulate. Healing wave. And let's see what we can get up to. We're missing some of our might stacks. We only have one, I think, but let's see what this does for us. Yeah, like it does about a third of their health with some shielding on top, I guess, but it just like this is the problem he seems to have at when fighting stuff at level 40. Because the team has no way of removing buffs from things, which is part of the problem. The reason, like because the Koi has the healing rod, I will say they are nice and safe from debuffs, which is quite nice. Just doesn't seem to have enough oomph on their own. That's quite a good hand of buffs right there, though, I will say. Let's go for the Thanatos. Get something off the field if we can. He resists us, so it doesn't matter which one we go for, really, I guess. With the explosion. Yeah. Like, granted, this team like resists you across. Like, this is pretty much the worst team you could hope to fight with this particular setup, because they all resist you. They can all steal buffs. Like, it shuts you down really hard. So that's kind of fair enough, I guess, but that's basically the kind of struggles I've been having with the worm here. He's just too fragile for a lot of things. Like unless your team is very safe against whoever you're fighting, he just seems a little fragile. And against things that are just like your absolute counter, you're gonna have a bad time. So, like the Sitsune, Thanatos, all that is just a bad time for you. Of course, I suppose in that case I could have used the Thanatos' magic and made him the crit monster. I suppose I should probably give that a shot actually before I totally write it off. Hang on, I shouldn't, because I suppose I was guilty a little bit of over focusing on the worm itself, because that was the goal was to make a worm team. That doesn't mean the rest of them can just sit there. Hang on, this is the this is a different team. Whoops. Oh well. Let's give it a try here. If we're focusing on the Thanatos instead, let's try this. Because in fairness, Thanatos has pretty good crit possibilities as well, in all fairness. Ow. So in this case, we're using the worm more as a further buff machine. He's pretty good at it, actually. And using his curse breaker as well to be quite helpful to us. Oh yeah, and the koi can revive one time, which is quite nice in a pinch, I will say as well. Like, it makes it a little more viable, I guess. We're not really winning exactly, but we're not losing as hard either. The Sutsune would still, you know, ruin our day, pretty much. The guaranteed crits are quite nice, though, I will say. One down. Yeah, I mean, that kind of works, actually. I guess once the buffs are up, like, you can kind of play them from either end, I guess. The Worm or the Thanatos. I mean, the fish doesn't have 5th rank Acid Rain or Aqua Blast to help, but even then, with what a crit this team has, it's not a non-factor. Better. So there you go. I mean, I guess, in all fairness, that works. The Thanatos being used as kind of a secondary attacker kind of works. In that case, I probably would put in some of these other, because I kind of stayed away from things like severe hit or shocking hit because I was focusing on the worm. But if you want to put those in or other things to kind of help make the Thanatos do a bit more damage, like he has a lower crit chance than the worm does at 31%, but he gets 20% more on the first hit of every attack, so that's 50% right there, with 51. First hit also cannot be dodged, that's 61 with Sure Strike. Neutral attacks have 10% more, 71. Got the bleed there. So yeah, he has a 71% crit chance before Glory is applied. So he also has basically a guaranteed shot at 100%. And actually easier than the worm does, even. So he's got guaranteed crits as well. So crit damage plus. Certainly one I could probably see myself going for there. Could maybe throw an attack plus in there to balance out his attack and his magic, but like kind of doesn't matter that much. They're pretty close as it is. I will say that I wish instead of these two, he had the charge stack one that the worms got. That'd be nice. But oh well. Backstab is good when you're starting off against something with like fresh health too. More crit and more damage. It's great for like one-shotting stuff. And I guess if you're fighting something, I guess because this team is so light on debuffs, or even almost no debuffs at all, that do any damage anyway, that might even work. Kind of get you rolling, maybe. Let's take the crit damage for now, because I know it's going to be useful. But yeah, so that's kind of the team I went with for the Koi. Like I said, I just took Aqua Blast down to here, so I could get all of his mana. Well, I mean, honestly, like this one is honestly like you could maybe even get away with just a here to grab mana focus. But I didn't want him to be totally worthless in a fight because he does have a lot of mana. And like each of his mana procs, and he has 3 mana procs, does an extra 250 damage because he does half his mana, and his mana is 500, which is not nothing. It's not bad. So he has an okay physical attack. Mana feeds back into his defense and offense with these 3 here. Mana stability and two mana overloads. Mana procs are good. Debating grabbing mana upkeep, because we do still have some points left over. Mana upkeep would not hurt the team. It's certainly nice to have. This one isn't as bent on crits as the rest of them are, because it's not really here for damage. It has Center of Mass to make its heals. Its Healing Wave do more to whoever needs it the most. Buffs are more efficient on this monster as well, so more crit damage. Heroic Party makes your entire team do more damage for each buff on it, which is good. Makes it take less damage for every buff on it, so it lives a bit better. Buff Celebration is where those extra charges are coming from. As long as you have 4 more buffs at the beginning of a turn, anyone in your party gets 2 more charge stacks, which is nice. Charge Amplifier makes charge stacks 40% stronger. Healing Shield, it's not exactly wonderful on this monster. You get 1/5 of your heals back as shielding, which is why I went with Healing Wave over Mass Restore, because it just heals for more. This is 3 charges of 225 plus 40% of your magic, whereas Mass Restore is only 2 charges of 250 plus half your magic. So, this one adds up to 675 before magic. This one adds up to 500 before magic. So this one has a considerable head start. Mass Restore does, of course, take debuffs off, but between the Worm's Cursebreaker and the Restoring Wand I gave the Koi, which already makes you remove two debuffs, you're pretty much fine anyway. Gear-wise, focus on mana. I threw a little bit of crit chance in there just because why not, I guess. Kind of don't need it that much, honestly, though. But there's not really any mana regen item besides the tome, so I couldn't put in mana regen and mana again, so I figured why not. You could maybe get away with, I don't know, mana regen and I guess more magic with the scroll would not be terrible. That would give it a bit more punch. But considering how crit heavy most of this team is, I figured, why not? The feather works just fine. Then again, the scroll will give it a bit more heal, in all fairness. That's a valid point to be made. Because it does scale off magic, so it's a bit more shielding. Why not? Nothing else really depends much on mana regen itself, so that would be fine. Hybrid Mastery, I didn't really need to do because it's an offensive perk, but like, eh. Oh, that's right, yes, crit chance makes him dodgier. That's right, that's what it was. So 1/5 of his crit chance becomes dodge chance as well. So there is an argument to be made for the feather, I guess, but it wouldn't make much difference. It's only like 11%, so that's what, 2%? 2%. Most of that's going to come out of all those glories that this team stacks up so high. So if 1 glory gets it 10% crit chance, 3 glories is 20, 5 is 30, because the ones after the first one are only half as effective. So 1 is 10, 2 is 15, 3 is 20, so on and so forth. So 30, but it's also 20% more effective. So a 5th more effective would be, what, 36? That sounds right. 36%, and then a 5th of that gets put back into dodge, which is not even 10%. Like, I wish it was more, frankly. But, that's crit chance for you. If you built this thing, like, with crazy crit crit, chance, it would maybe dodge better. But even at 100% crit, there would still only be, would still only be a 20% chance to dodge. Which is nice, but, like, the worm has higher than that, and he can't dodge things anyway, so I wouldn't call it reliable. Like I said, if you want to try like swapping out like the Koi or something for the Targoat, and just full on using Protect, just completely wall this thing from harm, that would work. It does have the charge amplifier. It doesn't have buff celebration though, which would make it a little less effective at giving over charges to the worm. Although with leadership and revenge, it certainly would give some charge stacks to it, so that's definitely possible. Worth noting that the Targoat and Worm are both warriors as well, so armory would actually affect the Worm as well. If you wanted to try and figure out a way to get the Sizzle Knight involved, that would be decent too, because the Sizzle Knight would increase the Worm's offense. Where's all Sizzle gone off to? There he is. Sizzle Knight, of course, has weaponry, where all warriors gain attack, magic, crit chance, and crit damage, upped by 15%. The problem with that, though, is that while, I mean, it would definitely help. Like, it would crank his crit chance and damage even higher, which would be nice. A lot of his crit damage does come from talents. Like, that's 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, 105, 120, 135, about 150% of his crit damage is from talents, which weaponry will not affect. So 90% crit damage. I just think it's only 40, I think, because you start with 50, don't you? Jeez Louise. 20, yeah. So, like, it would increase his 40% crit damage from this up by 15%, but that wouldn't be all that much. The crit chance would be nice, though, because this is 14, 25, 35, 50% more crit right there. So that would be cranked up too. But it's still, like, you'd still need you would still need most of those glory stacks for it to work. Although, I suppose, because, like, I was kind of working on the assumption you needed all 5 glory stacks. With weaponry, you might not. You might be able to get away with only 3, with the 15% increase. Maybe. I don't know which of these you'd get rid of, though. Because, like, the Thanatos brings improved glory, which ups your crit damage by way more, which is quite nice. Like, I really think that he needs that to make his damage work. So I guess you'd have to get rid of the Koi, which would mean you'd be banking on shielding, not healing. Which, again, not impossible. It's a possibility. So that's something, if you guys want to try, you might get some mileage out of that. Give me a second to, I guess, to toss it together real quick, and I'll see if I can do something with it really fast. Okay, I'm actually kind of impressed with this. I'm not gonna lie. Sizzle Knight might just work out pretty well for these guys. So I went with because we're gonna be critting everywhere. I went with Lightning Slash and Fiery Stabs for bleed, because the Thanatos, of course, has Deep Wounds, which, of course, causes bleed to do more damage, and Lifesteal, which is nice, just because, you know, that's more for him, I guess. Yeah, anyway. With Hybrid Mastery for keeping the damage up on both magic and on physical, although he only has physical attacks, so I'm not as, like, married to that, I guess. All wind attacks have a chance to apply shock. He doesn't have a burn thing, does he? That's fine. It's not the point really. But the reason I gave him shock is because he has chain reaction, which can trigger shock on all enemies, which is quite nice. Multi shock. He has cleanse twice over. Take some buffs off your enemy, which I quite like. Has double defense focus, as well as crit chance focus, so that's quite nice. Whenever he's attacked, and since he's going to be doing our blocking for us, that was quite a lot. He's got glare, which means whenever he's attacked, things get blinded. He does more damage. Our entire party does more damage to things that have been blinded. He makes our team take less damage from single target and multi-target moves, which is nice. All shield effects are improved by 10%. Whenever he's attacked, he can also shock stuff. The first crit of this is the main reason why I'm okay with it with him having both attack and magic, even though he doesn't really have any magic attacks. Because whenever he hits and gets a crit, he'll also do an additional hit based on his magic damage. So, like, why not? I guess. Weaponry, of course, was the whole point of bringing him along, because more crit damage, more attack, all that good stuff. And Blinding Sunlight, every fire and wind move has a chance to apply blind. Now this synergizes quite well with everyone else here, because I've given him the Thorn Tendril. Whenever he is hit, he applies a bleed stack on attackers equal to his attack or magic, whichever is higher. Either way, that's a 635 point bleed stack, which is a lot of bleed. Also gives him some pretty good damage. Gave him the Moon Sword as a secondary one. Although honestly, I've been a little tempted to switch that out for the Cestus, because, like, he loses, well, I guess he does lose a bit. He gains more defense, but loses some raw damage. But, like, his defense actually feeds back into his attack as well, so it's not as much as you'd think. But that was certainly an option. His health is kind of low, so the Trident was kind of a thought of mine as well. But like I said, we're trying to keep keep him relatively balanced there. So let's try these guys out. I'm kind of curious to see how that will affect things, having a dedicated blocker in front. Because the healing wasn't really doing much for us anyway. Like, this team is so fragile that, like, healing wasn't doing much for us anyway, so... Cool, we want you to make sure that nothing else in this team dies, so you're gonna protect the worm. Most of the worm. Not only the worm, but most of the worm. That's great. Leaves the worm and Thanatos free to go crazy with the buffs. We won't need to buff as much either, because we can only have 3 stacks only have 3 stacks now. Okay, ow. Still hurts. We can still get a little bit of healing in, of course, with the, this. I wish he had full protect, I guess. That'd be nice, but... Okay, and then forge. What that does for us. It's kind of a shame that he only blocks 1 attack. We are, however, living much more... Well, we're not dying nearly as badly as we were a minute ago, which I'm thankful for, so... Let's try and get some of those buffs off of the Sizzle. There's the bleed stacks. I like those. I don't know if we're guaranteed critting, but we're definitely critting a lot. Oof. That's not good. Definitely still kind of wish we had the healing as an option. But then again, I kind of wish we had Revive when we had the healing, so... I think Revive would actually do a lot for this team. But I don't know, like, I don't really remember there being any great options for getting Revive on here. Like, honestly, with this team, you might be better suited just, like, finding a way to make... Because, the worm is kind of half a step off of being a charge team anyway. I mean, it basically is kind of a low-key charge team. And at that point, it kind of makes me just wonder, like, okay, like the worm is great and all, but I feel like as cool as the worm is, and as much as I want it to work, I feel like at this point I'd be better off just making a team for the Graphonics. Like, the Graphonics is naturally harder to kill. It has more attack options. It doesn't do as much per hit, but it definitely is a safer option, and it synergizes better with things, because the worm itself does not have a lot of synergy. Like, the only thing it really synergizes with is other worms. Because it's racial thing here. Only worms. Like, it's a great aura. Worms get 10% of their health back each turn and have 10% better mana regen. Fantastic it's a fantastic aura, but it only works for worms. Granted, I will grant you that the changeling, being, you know, everything, can benefit from it as well. But the changeling itself, I mean, it doesn't really go that well with the worm. It can shield it. It can buff it, but it doesn't really have a lot of crit synergy or anything like that, so it doesn't go that well with it, unfortunately. So that is my take on the worm team, you guys. I think either of those we showed off has at least some potential, but definitely struggles from just being really fragile. Even with the Sizzle Knight on deck to help, it's still just really fragile. But that was my 2 bits. I'm kind of running out of shift stones, skill potions, and switch stones. Now, I think I can get more of these, but the shift stones and switch stones are getting kind of tight. So I think I only have enough to do 1 more of these. I will say that they are planning on adding a new game plus to the game, which I think is pretty cool. I've looked into the randomizer a bit as well. I've not found a version yet that I think is workable, because the one I found was outdated. But I might try to find a more working one, because that was one comment I saw as well. I believe from Sodamus, I think, but I may be mistaken. But that's something I kind of wanted to maybe look into. So a randomizer could be cool. Or even New Game Plus, because I mean, like on New Game Plus, we could crank up the difficulty and see, like, you know, how these crazy teams of ours function, I guess. So we'll see how it all goes. So for now, I'll leave this one here for now, you guys. As always, if you have any suggestions or whatever, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. I think I had one more team I wanted to do, but I've forgotten what it was. Uh-oh. Rats. Wanted to try the worm thing. There was something else I wanted to do too, and I forgot what it was now. Crud. Well, we'll see anyway. Oh right, the evolution comparison could certainly be one. Yeah, we could do those for a bit maybe. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next video, or on Discord, or on the streams. And for now, I'm Awesome Right out. Take care of yourselves because you're worth it. And bye bye.